So while I know that everybody tends to fawn over a good enemies to lovers book, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I do too, I've been really leaning towards a good friends to lovers lately. I just find that the stakes are so much higher with friends to lovers because you're taking two characters who already have a pre-established bond with one another, and the stakes are high because it's like they don't want to ruin the friendship, they don't want it to not work out, and it's two people that already love each other in some capacity, and then that love just gets to grow and flourish, and I love to see it. I love the yearning. I love when they both don't know that the other one loves each other and then they find out and it's like a whole explosive thing. I am just a sucker for this trope as of late, so I wanted to do a whole video giving you my favorite friends to lovers recommendations, so let's just get into it. We're gonna start with my absolute favorite, and it's actually here behind me. It is The Wingman by Stephanie Archer. This is book 3 in her Vancouver Storm series, but it can be read as a complete standalone. This book follows Darcy and Hayden. Hayden is a professional hockey player and Darcy is his best friend from college. They met and they immediately had this super strong connection. He is immediately obsessed with her, but she ends up getting a boyfriend not long after they met, so he kind of has to keep his feelings at bay, but they do become like the best of friends. This book ends up picking up a little bit after they've graduated college. She ends up ending that relationship with the boy she was with, and she feels kind of lost in her love life. She doesn't really know how to put herself out there. So who does she decide to go to for advice besides her quote unquote womanizer best friend Hayden? He offers to kind of show her the ropes in dating, and things get a little carried away from there. Obviously, he has been obsessed with her for years now, so there's so much yearning. It's so good. And she's kind of always secretly had a thing for him too, but she's always thought like, there's no way he would like me. He's this big hockey player. He has such a type, and these girls are nothing like me. Meanwhile, he's obsessed with her. Oh my God. As I mentioned previously, just with this friends to lovers trope, I love seeing how the love transitions from a friend level to a romantic partner level. And I feel like this book does a really great job of kind of showing that gradual change. And I'm just obsessed with the characters in this book. This is like my favorite for a good reason. I really recommend it. I love it so much. Next book on my list is actually my most recent read. I absolutely loved it. You guys have to check this book out. It's called Promise Me by Sarah Kate. This is the second book in her Sinful Manor series, okay? But you could read it as a standalone. It does not matter. This is an romance that follows two college roommates turned best friends, turned friends with benefits, turned enemies, turned reuniting 7 years later. It's so good. So basically, there's two timelines in this book. One is when they're in college and they meet each other and they become the best of friends. And then the other timeline is 7 years after the last time they spoke. They have this huge falling out. They end up reuniting at Declan's estate, his home family estate. And Colin is there with his fiance because he's getting married, and Declan is supposed to be the wedding planner, and he doesn't even know that it's Colin. And then he shows up and they hadn't seen each other in 7 years. They're both secretly in love with each other still. Guys, this book was crazy. I don't know if this is just me, but do you guys ever read a book and it like physically gives you a stomach ache? Like you feel like you have to stop reading and like take a deep breath? That was me this entire book. The yearning, the angst, it was literally everything. I'm obsessed with this book. You guys need to read this one. I feel like books with two timelines can sometimes be tricky. Sometimes you feel like one of the timelines is much stronger than the other one and you're constantly wishing you were in one. But with this book, I was like obsessed. I was like, bring me back to college, bring me back to current day. I was loving both. And I just loved seeing the friendship unfold during the college years, and you're kind of like getting glimpses and you're figuring out what happened. Guys, read this one, just trust me. Next on my list, we have Unloved by Peyton Corinne. This is book 2 in her Undone series. Again, read it as a standalone, it doesn't matter. But this is literally one of my favorite friends to lovers. And what's kind of different about this one is it's not childhood friends to lovers or like friends who have known each other a long time. Like even with Wingman, they're not childhood friends, but like they've known each other as friends for a long period of time. This one, it's about Ro and Freddie. And they know each other in college. They meet freshman year. They kiss. He doesn't remember. She does. A couple of years go by of them being in college until Ro becomes Freddie's tutor. And so then they're constantly having to be around each other. Ro can't really figure out if Freddie remembers her, but instantly they have this beautiful connection. Freddie's kind of like the cool guy at school. Ro is a little bit more reserved. She had this boyfriend, but she's not really sure if it's the love of her life. She's always craved more love in her life, and she really wants to know what the real thing is. So being around Freddie, it's kind of making her think about things. She's not really sure if she wants to be in this relationship anymore. anymore. But throughout all of that, they end up forming this beautiful relationship as friends before they ever verge into something different. And I really enjoyed that in this book. We got to see a decent amount of just them being friends. And I feel like that's not very common in a lot of friends to lovers. It's usually like, oh, they were friends, but now here we are and they're becoming lovers. No, this one, it's like they become close personal friends, and it's so sweet. Freddie is like the sweetest boy ever. I'm obsessed with him. If you're into like a slow burn vibe, this is probably the pick for you, but I absolutely loved this book. Next up on my list is one of my all-time favorites, and that is Lotus by Jennifer Hartman. This book follows Oliver and Sydney, and they are childhood best friends who were next door neighbors. This book actually has a bit of a twist because Oliver ends up getting abducted as a child, and he is not discovered until 22 years later. So imagine being Sydney in this scenario. You have this best friend, he gets kidnapped, and now 22 years have gone by. I mean, you would hope that you would still hold out a little bit of hope that he could be discovered one day, but 22 years is a long time. So when Oliver comes back, it's a shock to everybody. She's still living in her childhood home, and Oliver's brother lives next door still, so he moves in with his brother, and the two of them end up reconnecting after all this time. Oliver obviously doesn't remember her very well. He doesn't remember much from his life before being taken, and you kind of get to unravel where he was, what happened to him, and there's also new challenges that they end up facing as they're trying to create this old friendship that they had and it possibly becoming something more. I just absolutely loved this book. Jennifer Hartman does romance really well while also adding some type of like crazy unexpected twist. So this is like my favorite from her. It's the first one I ever read of her books, but I absolutely love it. And I love Oliver and Sydney's friendship and how she's just so patient with him. It's beautiful. So highly recommend this one. Next up, we have Wyatt by Jessica Peterson. This is book 2 in her Lucky River Ranch series, and it follows Wyatt and Sally. This is a cowboy romance series, so it's about a bunch of brothers. Each book follows a different brother. So obviously this one is about Wyatt. Wyatt has been in love with Sally since they were kids. They grew up together. They are the best of friends. Now their dynamic has changed a little bit because Sally is actually wanting to be a vet tech in New York, and this ranch, I believe, is in Texas. So she has all these plans to like up and leave soon, but Wyatt is obviously staying in Texas so he can run his family's ranch. Sally ends up confiding in Wyatt a little bit before she's supposed to leave for New York that she's always been so career oriented and focused on school and work that she's never really had the opportunity to like let loose and have fun, and she asks him for help. And she wants help with figuring out dating, figuring out how to explore in the bedroom. She just wants to learn it all. And obviously Wyatt is a little bit conflicted because this is his childhood best friend. They've been so close. He doesn't want to ruin anything with her. But like, who is he to turn down this opportunity because he's obsessed with her and he wants to be with her? So they kind of create this dynamic between the two of them where he's teaching her these things before she's set to leave, and boundaries are crossed, lines are crossed, and the story kind of goes from there. I really enjoyed this one. I enjoyed the fact that they were like genuinely childhood best friends that have known each other their entire lives. So they had a very deep understanding of one another and each other's needs before they were even at that level with one another. So I really loved it. I'm a sucker for a good cowboy romance. I feel like I should do a whole video on just cowboy romances. I have so many. I've read all of them. So yeah, I really like this one, and this whole series is super fun, but Wyatt and Sally are definitely my favorite. Okay, and my last recommendation is for Rewind It Back by Liz Tomforty. This is the 5th and final book in her Windy City series. I'm noticing now, like, almost all of the books I'm talking about are behind me. There's all my favorite books, clearly. And listen, I know Liz Tomforty is pretty popular, but if you haven't read this book, on the off chance, I just had to mention it because this is probably one of my all-time favorite Friends to Lovers books. It's so cute. This one follows Rio and Hallie, who are childhood best friends. Also, they were neighbors, and they grew up together. They had this very strong friendship that ended up turning into a love when they were teenagers. They were so close. They were planning on being with each other forever, but they end up having this extreme falling out right before they're going to college. And not only do they completely lose touch, but they both hold on to this resentment and hate for each other all of these years later, where they end up reconnecting because Hallie has a job now renovating houses. And funnily enough, she has just booked the job to renovate Rio's house without knowing that it's Rio's house. So they reconnect all these years later. And like I said, they're both initially really holding on to this hate for one another, but just being in each other's presence is really breaking down some walls in a literal sense and a figurative sense. And they just can't really help but feel reconnected and like overjoyed to be with one another. And I think that really speaks a lot to their initial relationship. Like, clearly they had such a strong connection that even this whole blowout fight couldn't really infiltrate them later in life. Like, they're so easy to open up to one another again. But it's also a struggle because it's like always in the back of their mind that they had this falling out, and you kind of don't know what it is, and you read on and you kind of get into it, and it's so good. I loved this book. I loved the connection that these two had. And in all honesty, I think this is probably my favorite of the Windy City books. So just in case you haven't read it, go check that one out, read the whole series, but this one is definitely my favorite. I have a soft spot for Rio. So those are going to be my Friends to Lovers book recs. Obviously, if you guys do want an Enemies to Lovers video, you know I have a list on lock. So let me know. I can do that video for you guys, or anything else that you guys want. Just leave me a comment. Let me know how you're feeling. I hope you're leaving this video with a new book on your TBR. And in the off chance that you're not, I will be back next week with more recommendations. I love you guys.